I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Before I begin, I actually want to, because it's my friend Corey's birthday, I actually wanted to give her a gift. I was going to do it in private, but I thought, why do something in private when you can do it in front of dozens of people?
Yeah.
So, what I didn't really have time to go out shopping, and I didn't have money, as a lot of people don't, but I found something that I think might be of tremendous sentimental value. I was at my parents' house recently, and I was going through some old things, and I found a birthday card that my mother had given me when I was a young girl. And I haven't had a chance to read the card, but I do remember this particular birthday, and I remember how, the stuff she wrote was just so heartfelt, and it really kind of moved me, and it was the kind of thing that a daughter should hear from her mother. So before giving this to you, I'd actually like to read the stuff she wrote to me. See, it's a card right here, and she really poured her heart out. So, it says, "Hi, sweetie." Hi, sweetie. "Whoop-de-doo, it's your birthday. We're in Puerto Vallarta now. I hope you're having a lovely time with the Brookses. And I hope the gift certificate from Claire's Boutique buys you all the jelly bracelets you want. Maybe it's all the pina coladas or that powder I found in the bar. But I feel like imparting some wisdom that a young woman your age should know. You can swallow ipecac or put your finger down your throat, but you don't have to do both. The body that God gave you is free. The body you want will cost a lot more. Teresa didn't take your George Michael poster. I did. It's on my ceiling. If you ever get married, you'll understand. Have a wonderful 13th birthday, and remember, I have no complaints because you could have turned out much worse. Kisses, Mom." And it looks like there's more. "P.S. I'm having the best sex ever. The warm breezes are doing wonders for my drive. I don't even need my KY jelly. It's like a stick of dynamite went off in my wound, which in a way it did. Old Faithful has nothing on this geyser. Tell your father I said hi." You know what? This is not the card that I remember getting. Okay, this must have been the following year, which I did think had a gift certificate to Spencer Gifts. But in any case, Corey, if you would like this, here, I'm passing it along. Happy birthday, Corey. I hope it's a wonderful. I'm going to have to talk to my psychiatrist about that. But anyway, as Harold has mentioned, this is one of the final readings at Telephone Bar. I hope that I'll be invited to wherever you end up next. But what I decided to do was I would cap off this particular phase with some of what I like to call the greatest hits compilation. Usually when something's coming to an end, people like to compile some things, some of the most memorable moments. So that's what I did. So I'd like to start with one of the first poems that I ever wrote. Morning comes. You lie next to me. Your face cupped by the pillow, strands of hair cascading down your cheek. As your arm rests across my belly and your breath feels hot on my neck, I realize I should have gone home with the bass player instead. Now, in that vein, these are two poems that I wrote. I took a sculpting class, and some of the classes obviously involved studying the female form and studying the male form. But I found I couldn't really visualize it so much as I could write about it. And I decided to tweak it a little bit. Instead of talking about the female form as it is and the male form as it is, I decided to talk about it from the perspective of somebody of the opposite sex. So I'm going to start with a celebration of the female form as viewed by a man, who is, what's the one thing that guys like more than anything else?
Fear.
Okay. In case you couldn't figure out, I meant breast. Guys like breast.
Lies.
What? I didn't hear that.
No, I was joking. Continue.
I'm going to talk to you later. Okay. Her shirt comes off with nothing underneath but her. He stops for a moment to get his bearings. All the women who came before her could never even imagine beauty like this, let alone live up to it. As her milky white curves seemed to harden in the cool autumn breeze, and her round pink bud sharpened under the weight of his breath, he thanked God, or whoever would listen, that she finally got the implants. Okay, now let's flip it around and let's talk about the part that women seem to like most in men. Or the physical part anyway, which ranks 5th on the things that women like about men, but anyway. Swollen and throbbing, like a heart beating after it's been rolled into the shape of a loaf of Italian bread. My eyes are fixed on it, wide with wonder, at the image up close, which is new and thrilling. I handle it clumsily, unsure if my grip is too tight or too loose, not knowing whether to suck it like a vacuum or lick it like a lollipop that might explode in my face. A few kind hints and demonstrations from you serve as a helpful guide. It starts to remind me of a hot dog. As a lark, I find a hot dog bun and place it inside. It fits perfectly once I cut the bun in half. Now, this is what I call a very inspirational poem. It's actually a poem I wrote about a hero of mine, Copernicus. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Copernicus is the one who asserted the principle that the Earth rotates around its own axis. What's interesting about Copernicus is that idea is pretty much conventional wisdom. Everybody's accepted it. But at the time he came up with it, nobody really thought about it. Nobody believed it. Certainly not in the university circles. It had some acceptance in royal courts, but not in the educational institutions. One interesting thing about Copernicus is that he came up with these ideas pretty much in isolation. He was cloistered in Frauenburg in Poland, where he lived pretty much throughout his life. When his father died when he was 10 years old, he was sent to live with an uncle in Frauenburg, and that's how he ended up there. And he didn't really travel around, so he pretty much stayed cloistered. And as anybody who has a studio apartment in New York City, you know the feeling of being cloistered in small spaces. But astronomy wasn't the first foray that Copernicus undertook. He tried his hand at a lot of different things. I had to write some notes here. For example, he tried to be a peace negotiator. He tried to negotiate or broker a peace deal between Poland and the Teutonic Knights. Didn't quite work out. He tried to reform the currency of Poland. That didn't really work out either. He was also Commissar of Ermland, and he tried to reform the currency there, and that didn't work out. And then finally he got into astronomy, and he came up with the idea that the Earth rotates around its axis, which also failed up to a point. Up to a point, because eventually people started to come around to his way of thinking, and he did become a success, but he was already dead at the time, and so he really didn't reap any of the rewards of it. But in some ways this is an inspiration for me, because I often wonder if I will still be alive when I'm successful. And I think, well, will it matter because I'll be dead? But then I realize it will matter, because you see a man like Copernicus who probably spent his entire life going, oh my God, why am I not famous? How come nobody knows who I am? Why am I not a success? But he became a success after he died. So he can look down and say, see, I'm successful. Even though I'm dead and I can't enjoy it, I'm successful because, hey, look, I'm in the history books and nobody else is. And so this is an inspiration to me, that just because I'm not anybody now doesn't mean I will always be a nobody. I might be a nobody as long as I'm alive, but there's a very good chance that I could be a somebody when I'm dead. And this is the lesson that I learned from Copernicus. And so I wrote a poem celebrating what means to me and how he's inspired me, and so I would like to share that poem with you. Funny how the world spins eternally, as if the stars look brighter the second time around. Thank you very much.